Well, good morning. It's great to see you. What a beautiful day. What a great service we've had so far. And it is always a privilege to come to church. I love Sundays because all of us, we get to be online. We get to be with our friends, our families, and the chat is always happening. What a great way to worship God together. We are talking about the parables, and I'm excited today to be able to share one with you today. We'll continue our series, and I just want to jump into it right away. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you are excited to be here, and do me a favor. Can I ask you to pray right now? Just a few words, and ask God to speak to you. Because I know that I have some message to share with you, but I also want the Spirit to work and move in your life today. So as you pray, as you prepare for this lesson, let's jump into it. Our passage is coming from Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. You are the light of the world. Some lofty, loaded words here this morning. You're a city on a hill. This is great. Maybe this is why you came to church this morning, to hear some good news. And boy, let me tell you, I can be ready for some good news. And maybe you are as well. Maybe you're going through a lot. Maybe you're going through some challenges in your life right now, and we need some inspiration. We need our spirits lifted up this morning. So I am here to do that job. As we read through the scriptures, my hope is that the scriptures will really speak to us, because right now we are all looking for answers. We are looking for answers. We're looking for hope, direction, faith. We are looking for something. We're turning to God, and we're looking for direction and inspiration. We're looking to our world leaders, and we want answers, and rightly so. We're looking for the medical health aspects, and we want them to help us, to tell us what's happening. We're looking to our community leaders, the community leaders we have in our lives. We're looking at the church leaders, and again, rightly so. Because I believe God has put in these people in position to be able to help us function and be our best. But sometimes, though, in the process of waiting and looking and all of this, we can be in limbo. We can be in a wait and see mode, that we don't know what to do, we don't know what's happening, and we can be confused, and we can be in darkness. But I'm wondering if we play a role in this process. Do you get a feeling that sometimes we have these higher expectations for everyone but ourselves? And if we do, maybe just not so much. I believe Jesus has something to say about that. Jesus is saying, you are the light of the world. You are a hill. You are a city on a hill. And when you begin to think about this, right now, yes, right now, you are the light right now. In the midst of some of the darkest situations, lives we've had for a long time, in the midst of what we haven't seen in a century, you are the light of the world. Maybe you don't feel it, maybe you don't see it, but when you think of light, though, what comes to your mind? You know, so many things come to my mind, and I'm sure it does as well. Light, simply put, gives light. That's its function. You know, who is a Christian? What comes to your mind when you think of a Christian? Well, a Christian is somebody who has a new identity. A Christian is someone who is a light. And light has two functions, revelation and direction. What do I mean by that? Light reveals what is hidden, It exposes what is in the darkness, and it doesn't go and just blame you in the darkness, you in the darkness. It doesn't do that. Yes, it does exposes, but what it also does is that it provides a way out, right? And you can think of Jesus. That's what Jesus did for us. Jesus came, he saw the darkness, he became our light, and he helped us out of the darkness. You know, Ephesians 5:8 says, you were once darkness. You were once darkness. It doesn't say that you actually lived in darkness. It says you were once darkness. And so Jesus comes knowing that we were darkness, we were in darkness, we were separated from God. He comes in and he brings grace. He brings light. You know, John chapter 8, verse 12, this is Jesus talking about this light. And in John 8:12, when Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but have the light of life. See, Jesus often refers to himself as the light of the world. So much so that in John 3:19, he says, light has come into the world. It was clear to the followers of Jesus that Jesus was the anticipated light that was coming into the world. And that brought hope, faith, courage. And so when Jesus came to the scene, they followed Jesus. But here, though, Jesus is saying he is not the light. He is saying we, his followers, are the light. So what is he talking about? What kind of light is Jesus talking about? Well, we know that Jesus is the source of the spiritual light, right? It doesn't come from us. We are not the source of light. We are more like the moon. And as you all know, the moon has no light of its own. It simply reflects the light from the sun. In the same way, you have no light of your own. You reflect the light of Jesus. You represent Jesus. You are his image. See, this means we stay close to Jesus. We refuse to let things interfere, come between the sun and the moon. Because when that happens, when the earth gets between the sun and the moon, guess what? There's no light. And in our Christianity, we can allow certain things to get between Jesus and us, and that prevents us from shining. Essentially, in the process of salvation, right, we became transmitters, reflectors. And not only to show, Jesus did not only come to show us the way, but also to help prepare us so that we can do the same for other people. This is so inspiring. This is so encouraging. And as we think about this passage, I don't think Jesus was just dishing out some positive energy. And of course, that's what we need right now. But Jesus was talking about more, something deeper. He was saying, I believe in you. I believe that my followers are people of influence, that my followers are world changers. The question is, do you, though, see yourself as the light of the world? Think about what has happened since last year. Was there a moment that occurred to you that, wait a second, I'm called to be a light, a person of influence? As I mentioned, we're looking at the parables of Jesus, and we're trying to figure out what is the moral of the story here. And the parables were just simple stories, really designed to help us understand something deeper, something meaningful. And Jesus was extremely good at getting his point across. He was a master at capturing his hearers' attention. I'm doing everything I can here to get your attention, and I know you're at home and maybe distracted and doing so many things. But Jesus, when he spoke the parables, as we are doing right now, our objective is that we'll be able to not only get your attention, but also speak to your heart, your emotions, your convictions. Because that's what the parables did. They were vivid, they were clear, sometimes even contradiction. There was some type of contradictory there. I mean, the Good Samaritan, what do you mean by that? Aren't Samaritans supposed to be good? Some of the parables were troubling. They made you think. And personally, I have this love-hate relationship with the parables. I love them, as I mentioned, right? Because Jesus talked about them all the time. Actually, a third of all his teachings were parables. And parables are a simple story designed to teach through comparison and contrast. A story designed to teach a lesson through comparison or contrast. And as we see, and we are going to see, when Jesus is saying, you are the light of the world, you are a city on a hill that cannot be hidden, he wanted you to remember that. He wanted you to remember that. Not only was it simple, but it had deep spiritual meaning and implications. Do you get the point? Do you get the point? Because that's what happens when you hear a parable. What I don't like about parables is that sometimes I find them too close to home. Too close to home, right? Because you're compelled to see yourself in the story. And here's what an interesting thing that I found as I was reading through the parables this week, and as I've done before. Here's a question you can always ask yourself when you read a parable. Who am I in this story? Who am I in this story? KJ talked about last week, the old wine and the new wine, and again, the question applies. Who am I in this story? Parables are powerful. They reveal the truth to those who might otherwise reject it or even deny it. But again, beyond revelation, there's also appeal to our emotions and convictions so that we can take action. Parables are everywhere, at our home anyways, and I'm sure you've had it in your home as well. We tell the parable of the three pigs, the three little pigs. You got straws and sticks and bricks, and, they build their homes, and, you have two that just built with bricks, sticks and straws, and they had extra time to play. And then you had one who took the time and, built with bricks. And you ask yourself, who am I in this story? What kind of builder am I? Am I building with straws and sticks or bricks? And in the story, the moral of the story we always get is, hard work pays off. And you can also ask yourself this question, what kind of pig am I? Right? Really cool stuff. The parables are powerful. They're practical ways to check ourselves, to examine ourselves, to check our Christianity, to measure the authenticity of our walk with God, to see, to measure our love for God, our commitment to people, grace, forgiveness, repentance, perseverance. These are all there. And you know what is really good and sometimes even too convicting, too close to home? They help you examine if you're righteous or just religious. Righteous or just religious. So as we go back to our story, Matthew 5, 14 to 16, you are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. What is Jesus doing here? What is Jesus doing in this story? See, not everyone that followed Jesus was a light to the world or a city on a hill. Not everyone who followed Jesus had a kind of impact and influence that Jesus was talking about. And as you read the scriptures, as you follow Jesus, as you journey with Jesus in the Gospels, you can find 4 groups of people that followed Jesus. There were the miracle seekers, teachers of the law, convenient followers of Jesus, and then you have the devoted. The miracle seekers, basically, they came looking for miracles. And I think sometimes we have those people, we can be tempted to be those people. They're the kind of people who say, you know what, God, if you change this, then. God, if you show me a sign, then. To them, God is not enough. God hasn't done enough. And so they're always waiting. And they are going to God, and God, solve this problem, and God, do this, and God, where are you? God is never enough. The miracle seekers. Then you have the teachers of the law. In spite of everything that was happening, all that Jesus was doing, the people getting healed and saved and all of that, they were the church police. Always checking, is this right? What is the precedence? Have we ever done this before? Well, there was no precedence to Jesus. He was the Messiah. He was the Son of God. There was no one like him. And then you had the Pharisees, you have the teachers of the law who opposed Jesus, who followed Jesus, and they couldn't rejoice with what was happening. They couldn't see what was happening because they were so focused on checking Jesus and going back to see if Jesus was doing the right thing. We can be those people as well, the church police. Well, why are we doing this? Well, a lot of the things we're doing, frankly, didn't exist 2 years ago. Jesus didn't exist. And so Jesus comes in and he brings this light, this direction, and he is helping out and he's doing so many things. And I believe sometimes it can be very challenging for us. Sorry, hopefully you can hear me. So we're talking about the 4 kinds of people that follow Jesus. Kevin Robbins was so good at this. You can turn off his mic and he'll find a story and all of that. For me, this is always a nightmare, okay? So Chris, thank you. We're talking about the 4 people that follow Jesus, the miracle seekers, the teachers of the law, who are sort of the church police. And then you have the convenient followers. I would only follow if it works for me, if it suits me. And today we may have those people around us. Hey, I got nothing better to do. All I have to do is click and watch. I'm just coming for the fellowship. But we can't be a light to the world when it's only convenient. Right? And then finally, the 4th group, the devoted. Those who follow Jesus, who are not only interested in hearing Jesus, but those who were willing and ready to apply what Jesus preached. They were committed disciples. They followed. Who are you in this story as you following Jesus? Who are you in this story as you follow Jesus? Are we okay? Okay. We're going to take a moment so you can hear me. It is good to be back. Okay. So who are you in the 4 groups of people that follow Jesus? And again, COVID has exposed so much. And I hope as we go through the parables that we'll be able to see ourselves. Let's keep reading. Matthew chapter 4, verse 15. Matthew 4:15. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. You see, the moral of our story today is flip the switch. Flip the switch. The moral of our story today is flip the switch. You see, sometimes we cover the light. We hide. Sometimes we don't flip the switch. We don't turn it on. Because light is meant to be so powerful, so engaging. But sometimes we have the tendency to just remain in the darkness. And when we do, we don't have the impact that Jesus believed we could have. Why do we have so much power, so much light, so much faith and courage within us, and yet walk around so insecure? Why do we do that? Why do we always comparing, what is this person doing, this group, that church, what are they doing, what are they saying? Why do we have so much power, so much light, faith, courage, and yet we walk around insecure? I have a couple of reasons I would like to share with you. I think the first one, I think we've become desensitized to the darkness. We've adapted to the darkness. We've accepted the darkness as a norm. It has become a habit. It has become, there is no better way. I know I grew up in Ghana, and my hometown was about 3 hours from Accra, the capital of Ghana. And we had electricity in my hometown, but we were so poor, we didn't have light at home. And so at night, we will rely on the houses around us, to go to the main street and back. And sometimes when we're coming back to save money, they will actually turn off their lights, and so it's just dark, and you can't see much. But over time, though, I learned how to actually walk my way back home without light, because it became the norm. I adapted. Our eyes over time can really adapt to darkness. Not only that, I actually managed to run in the darkness. And of course, it's not like the streets here at home in Canada, but they were not paved. There are ditches and bricks and stones all over. But over time, you get used to it and you can run. It was not the norm. Yes, there are times that I hurt myself in the process, but I'm like, a big deal, right? It is my situation. Darkness doesn't have to become a habit. It doesn't have to become a habit, because lights are not meant to be hidden. Jesus is saying, you stand out. You're called to stand out, to be distinctive. And one of the reasons that we hide is also fear. One of the reasons we are afraid to just stand out, to be that distinctive, is because we are afraid. Fear of people, what people think. Well, I don't want to be labeled as Jesus freak. Well, I don't want my coworkers to know that I'm a Christian. I mean, I want to just blend in. I just want to be like everybody else. I don't want to rock the boat. Everybody is coming out, and and now Christians are not going hiding. Right? We want to blend in instead of flipping the switch so we can stand out. And so what happens is that because we're refusing to be distinctive and we are hidden under a bowl that doesn't make sense, what has happened is that the gospel has been watered down. Even when we talk about Jesus, there is no passion, there is no excitement, there is no hope, there is no courage. Why? Because the message has been watered down. We have a false image of Christ. And that's what we're showing. When Jesus is talking about light, light in the Greek is false. It basically means image. And says, you are that light. You represent me. You are that image. We've been talking a lot about jokes at home, and my kids, and I won't tell you which one. I know it's hard, and I have 3. Let's say my son. And we've been doing these dad jokes. And so he came to me this week and he goes, Dad, hey, what do you call a police officer in bed? And I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, undercover cop. And it's like, ha, 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 right? But I'm wondering if fear makes us more of an undercover Christian, hidden, right? When Jesus is saying, no, you can't hide. You're meant to be distinctive. You're meant to stand out. You're meant to be the source of hope. You're meant to be the source of inspiration for people around you. You are the light of the world, a city built on a hill that cannot be hidden. Light made me think of 2 types of light. We have a motion sensor light at home. And it's one of those that turns on at night when you walk by, right? So it turns on, but only when prompted. It's passive, it's hidden, it's secret. Unless you wave by, there's no light. You have to get its attention before it turns on. And Jesus is saying, you can't do that. That's not Christianity. That's not how you have influence. You can't have any impact like that. Jesus is saying, no. Yes, it's a form of a light, but not the real, distinctive, powerful, and impactful light that Jesus is talking about. Now, contrast that motion light sensor with the image of a city on a hill. A city on a hill means it is strategically located, situated. It's intentional. They didn't just wake up one day and put a city anywhere. Back in the day, when you're building a city, you're thinking of a position that will bring safety and protection for the citizens of the city. Think of the CN Tower. You can see it. It's believed you can even see it as far as 160 kilometers away. Like 100 miles away, you can see the CN Tower. Are you that light? Are you that light that is visible, that's on 24/7, that spreads, that affects change, that illuminates everywhere, helping people in the house? I know home can be a tough place for you to shine, but Jesus is saying that's where it starts. The light is not hidden, it's not put under a bowl. Instead, it's put on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. Home is where it starts, in your parenting, in your marriage, with your siblings, in your relationships. And I know that I can be exposed so much at home. It's so much easier to be a Christian at church on Sunday. But when you go home, though, are you on? Are you on 24/7? A city on a hill? Or you're the motion sensor light? People have to get your attention. You're hidden, you're passive. What is really cool as we're talking about Mother's Day is that our moms are on 24/7. We're so proud of our moms. We celebrate you today. We respect you, how you've cared for us, nurtured for us, all the mother figures we have in the church, the spiritual figures. I know my parents, I know my mom is very dear to me. Recently we sent my mom a package, and what we told the kids to just write a card for grandma. We put in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We haven't seen them in almost 2 years. And we want to. They live in Montreal. We'd love to go see them. I've been thinking about them a lot. We've had some Zoom calls. We just want to see them. And so we sent them a package. And all the kids wrote, "Thank you, Grandma, for praying for me." And I thought that was so moving. I think that's who moms are. They are on 24/7. Are you on 24/7? Are you on 24/7? Or you're just a motion sensor Christian? Somebody has to get your attention. Jesus is saying you are the light of the world. You're a city on a hill, visible. It's on. It brings protection, but also direction. It illuminates. At night, it can guide you home. What does it all mean? What is the implications? Verse 16. Verse 16. Flipping the switch. Matthew 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. In the same way. The same way light is distinctive, that it can be seen, it's on. Let your light shine. And I know this is where it gets challenging. Because the temptation is, yes, we want people to see our good deeds, so they'll say, "Good job, Mike." That's not what Jesus is talking about. What good deeds is he talking about? Yes, can you be good? Yes, I'm a good person. Does that mean I'm a light? That's not the kind of light Jesus is talking about. Jesus is talking about eternal, lasting influence. So much so that this influence can actually affect the spiritual destiny of people. And I know when it comes to influence, we say, no, I can't have that kind of influence. We turn to the rich and the famous, that they're the people of influence and money. And let me tell you, look at Hollywood. The rich and the famous, they don't always have the answers. Sometimes when we talk about this influence, we're like, well, that's not me. It's not my personality. But I am sure you've received a card where somebody probably wrote, "Hey, you are a light in my life." You're not talking about, just walking around with a light. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about how you've impacted their life, how you've influenced their life. And if we can go back to this context, why Jesus is telling this story, Jesus is talking about his kingdom and how different it is compared to the Roman Empire, the Roman kingdom. These people that Jesus was speaking to, they were farmers and fishermen, poor, young, rich. They were all sort of people that had come to Jesus. And here Jesus is saying, yes, you are the light of the world. And Jesus is saying, I offer a way for you to become a member of my kingdom, but beyond that, to do what I do, to see what I see, to feel what I see, and to impact people the same way that he came to impact us. In the same way, let your light shine. It's not about you. It's not about you. We talked about the moon not having any light of its own. It's about the sun, S-U-N, reflecting and bringing light into our lives. This is what it's all about. The people that follow Jesus were not that impressive, but they changed the world. You may not be impressive, but if you apply what we've talked about, Jesus is saying, if you look at who I am, if you imitate, if you follow, you will also be a person of influence. What does it mean to shine? I know this is where it gets tricky and people are like, oh, yeah, what do I need to do and all of that. Jesus is directing people's attention to the beatitudes. That is the context of this parable. The beatitudes. Poor in spirit. You mourn, you grieve over your sin, over the pain in the world. You show empathy. That's being a light. You're gentle, you're humble, you're not arrogant. That's being a light. You hunger and thirst for righteousness. That's being a light. You're pure in spirit. You show mercy. You're a peacemaker. That's being a light. You rejoice when you're going through suffering and persecution. Yes, that's being a light. That's what Jesus is talking about right here. It's not so much the activity and what we do, but it's becoming, it's being. When we are, that's being a light. I want to finish with how proud I am with two individuals. And the example that they've been to me. You know, when I think of the Robins and the Lewises, you know, they've moved on to different roles and they're the best of the best. They've been in the ministry for so long. And Kevin could be here any given Sunday doing what I'm doing right now. Andrew could be here doing what I'm doing right now. And much better. And yet, they've said, it's not about us. It's about finding ways to advance the gospel. You know, it's been a privilege. It is a privilege for Damley and I to work with Milestone, the East region of our church. And what we've been telling ourselves is that we don't deserve this. We don't deserve this, but our leaders, our SLT, our senior leadership team, they've paved the way. They've showed us true humility. They've showed us what it means to be poor in spirit, to mourn, to be humble, to be gentle, to put themselves out of the way so that God will shine. Is this not what Christianity is all about? Is this not your invitation to be a light? The spaces that you occupy, who are you in those spaces? You know, COVID has created so many opportunities for you and I to shine, to reflect, to be a light, to be a people of hope, to love mercy, to show mercy, to be gentle, to be kind. As we close out, are you shining? You may be, but even find more ways to shine even brighter. Are you hidden? Is your Christianity hidden? Well, maybe begin with the Beatitudes. And if you're in the dark, if you haven't had the chance to see Jesus in the light, to come to the light, this is your invitation to join us so we can help you on your journey. So all of us together, we can flip the switch.